Okay, listen, I have to do a video reply to this because I'm starting to get a little anxiety because I can't hang, you know. I'm reading this thing, and I love this. I used to be a Scientologist for a couple moments way back in the 80s, and so I kind of got onto this channel here, Sensibly Speaking, with the Thinker at Large. And so I'm watching these people, which the younger people are liberals, apparently, and somebody in the video commented about minimum wage, and so I just couldn't resist, and I said, minimum wage promotes unemployment. Okay, now, that's kind of true. I think it's true. I think it's a fact of life. And how does that happen? Okay. Well, I just put it out there to see if anybody agreed, and of course, I think 90% of the world's brainwashed liberal. So here comes this guy, and he says, "Where's the evidence of that?" And so I said, "Do you own a business?" And the only reason I asked that is because I knew he didn't. There's a couple reasons I asked that, and it's not a rhetorical question. If he says yes, I'm going to say, I wanted to, hoping that he owned a business. He would have never said minimum wage is a good idea. Okay? Think about it. Now, if this is, I understand that people want to help other people, but the worst thing you can do for poor people is give them money. Now, I ask him, do you own a business? The guy comes back and it says, that's irrelevant, answer the question. Okay, so here we go. And the reason why I didn't answer the question, in the elaborateness of probably a 300-page book, apparently, to convince this, and I would say they're the simpleton in this situation, think about it. Really think about it. And so there's so much, I guess I can't resist, right? There's so much contradiction out there. So the guy says, I have to take him through here. I have to walk him through what it's like to own a business. Now, I know owning a business, and if it gets too big, then it's big business, and that's evil, right? It just makes me want to spit up. It makes me want to throw up. Plus, it really is gnawing on the mind and this whole guilt of making money. And I know this is a trading channel, but I'm not going to lie to you that when I first made a bunch of money trading really quickly, I said, my God, how much does that come out to per hour? If I split that paycheck that I just made very quickly, just from pressing a button, how much money did I make? Now, could I hire somebody to press buttons for me? Sure, but I'm not going to pay them some ridiculous government minimum wage. And then the government only has a minimum wage so they can collect taxes. And they raise it so they can collect more taxes. Think about it, people. I have to believe the people I'm arguing with are not, they're brainwashed, right? They don't understand reality and human behavior. So I have to walk them through this stuff. And I refuse to type anymore. I just started typing again, and I'm going to lose it if I have to type anymore. So here I walk them through. Now, can I get a show of hands? I'm trying the best I can to type and walk through, and this is my answer. But what if you did own one? Now put yourself in the other loser's shoes. And if you think owning a business is profitable at first, you're a fucking idiot. It is so brutal. And 90% of traders lose because 90% of businesses lose. Knock, knock. Hello. And if these people probably aren't even traders, but I'm going to post this in the reply because I can't take it no more. I literally can't take it. I'm going to jump out the window, and I'm in the basement. So now I'm going to set this up for them real easy and simple because that's my gig. But what if you did own one? Would you rather pay a guy $1 an hour or $2 an hour? I'm giving you a choice of I'm not saying $1 an hour or $15 an hour, which I should have said, because maybe that would illustrate it. but I gave him the benefit of the intellectual doubt. If you say 1, what is the logical choice at this point? Would you rather buy your car for $5,000 or $5,001? And what is human nature typically gonna do? If you say 1, I can hire more people. Twice as many, actually. Given the choice, most owners will pick $1. Oh, here's what I get into. If you force employees to pay 15, like the dumb Jew running for president, the owners will buy robots, and they're already building them. No response to that. No response to that. Now here comes Think Peace. And I guess he's born in 2011. Right? And he's just able to get to his keyboard. This is the mentality of a 5-year-old, apparently. That is simply false. Now, check this response out. That is simply false. You're taking the short view. Whatever that means. No, I don't think so. Minimum wage increases disposable income. And can somebody please tell me what disposable income is? That the income that you use to light your cigars with? First, I was lighting my cigars with $1 bills, and then I moved up to 5s. And, you know, when they had that $2 bill, I was thinking, you know what? Break out the 2. I got a couple tips. I got some disposable income. Are you serious? Is this what's out there? If you can make it to your computer, and you're this, but these are people who are brainwashed. You've got to feel for this brainwashing. They've been indoctrinated in the schools, and this is what we're living with, man. Now, it doesn't seem like people think like this, but maybe only people that type on the internet think like this. People that do videos like me seem to be a little bit more intelligent. We're able to, and I'm waiting to hear the audio video response to this. Okay, that's simply false, and well, I'm going to answer his questions here. I'm not going to torture you with his stupidity. He says that's simply false. I said, well, what exactly about that's simply false? Okay? No reply. You're taking the short view. I took the logic view. Minimum wage increases disposable income. I said, so does welfare. Increased disposable income places more money in circulation. So does tax credits, handouts, Obama phones, free loans, low interest rate loans, quantitative easing. And then he says, which creates jobs. Now, this is what the funniest thing is. What creates jobs? And I don't want to get into this too detailed because I don't want to type as fast as I can talk. What creates jobs? Not money in circulation, okay? That is stupid. Does that even make sense? So if people have a bunch of money, all of a sudden people are going to go, you know what we should do? We should hire more people. Why? And then so the guy that owns the business, the guy that works under the business owner says, you know what we should do, Jake? We should hire more people. He goes, why? He goes, because there's more money in circulation. He goes, well, but we're making something that's really not popular anymore, and we're about to go out of business. Oh, you mean the customers create jobs? I didn't even think of that. Who the fuck are these people on the fucking internet? Stop with the stupidity, man. Well, it creates jobs, because I was taught that in school. Well, you know. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, the egg, of course. No, wait, is it the chicken? This is stupid. Creates jobs. And I said, what do you mean, workfare? Now, this person's not old enough to know what workfare is. It's government jobs. It's welfare. Did you have any study of history? During the Depression, they had workfare. They would give people money, but they felt immoral just giving money away to people. So what did they do? They gave them a job. And what was the job? Dig a ditch. Not to put in a drain. No, you dig the ditch and then you fill it. And then you dig it and then you fill it. It's almost like being in prison, but getting paid for it. Isn't that great? Wonderful. What the hell? What the fuck? Are these the people that we're living with on the planet, and they made it to the internet and they can type? And who knows, maybe they're cheating and using spell checker. If you look at, now he comes back with this one. Now this is just this canned garbage. If you look at economic trends, and of course those are all supposed to be fake numbers, according to the alternate media. I love how the alternate media says, well, those numbers can't be right, but look at the unemployment rates really high. Oh, that number's right, but when the number's good, it's a lie. Oh, I get it. Let's not forget non-farm payroll, which came out today. I asked my good buddy who's pretty well versed on fundamentals, what exactly is non-farm payroll? And are people still working on farms, or do they have robots? And are the robots that were programmed to work on the farm, is that non-farm payroll, or is that farm payroll? And where do we slice this? And where's that data coming from? So I said to him, I have no doubt. No, so he says, you can look at economic trends and follow minimum wage hikes to discern. I love that. I love when you're intellectual with me. Hike, not raise. He goes from slang hike to discern. I love when people throw a fancy word in to up the game of the argument. Don't you love that? Which of our economic... here's the challenge. Now, here's where it all comes down to. Now, he's going to whip out the data that, according to the Alex Joneses in the Building 7 mindset, is all fake data. All those charts are wrong. It's bad, man. It's really bad. Like I'm holding a phone, man. It costs $50 a month. And this phone is so sophisticated, you could create a movie on it. Whereas it used to take a whole MGM studio to create a movie. Oh, really? So, you can look at and discern which of our economic views is more likely true. I love how it gives me a wiggle room of not which one's true, but more likely. I like that's a nice touch. Don't forget, he's Peace 2011. If you're interested, and I am interested, or I wouldn't sit here and babble into my computer. That is probably got, oh, geez, how many companies behind me? The guy that wrote the software I'm recording on, the people that built the microphones, all the evil companies that corner the market. I'm sorry, there's no cornering of markets. The public's pretty good about realizing a clone and a shitty one. He assumes so much about people here. They're just a bunch of, they're like this static view that people are just a bunch of goof fucks. Trust me, jobs are created by customers. If you don't believe it, just think about it. If you have a brain, I don't think that... I just think this is falling on deaf ears, but I'm only doing it to relieve my own anxiety so I can watch a movie tonight. I have no doubt this is true. This is my answer. I have no doubt that's true. Because we've all seen charts, and they're probably very accurate. But is it a direct byproduct of minimum wage? That's the question mark I should have put in. I thought that was obvious. It was a question. He never answered that question. Or was the economy as a whole getting better, and the government felt the need to adjust it up to match the current markets, and to collect more taxes? Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit too heady for him, I think. And this is where I think I lost him. But I spent quite a bit of fucking time writing this. I just want you to know. And without leaving the page and losing the whole fucking thing, because I really should have done this in text on that evil Bill Gates computer. I should have done it in text, and I should have dragged it over, saved copies, because I really take this stuff seriously, as you can only imagine. Here we go. Now, this is going to be kind of, I'm going to paint a picture for it. Might be a little tough to take. The problem with the government setting a legal threshold for labor is that poor people with no fucking skill will not qualify, and nobody's gonna fucking hire you if you don't know fucking shit. Now, some of the greatest companies in the world, the most precision shit that's ever fucking been built on the fucking planet has been done by people that hired apprentices for no fucking money, and that's how I learned to make money in my business. How dare you, you fucking morons! You fucking socialist fucking... You made it to your computer morons. And you type shit for me to read. You gotta be kidding me. I would have never learned what I learned. And even after I went to dental school. Trust and believe, baby. All the schools are rigged with idealistic concepts. Trust and believe when you walk out in the real world with real problems and stuff that doesn't work. You need to have somebody that has practical tips and suggestions. And where does that come from? The guy that's been down that path before. How about the evil company owner? And not to mention, okay, I just don't even know where to begin with people like this. Let me go back to this thing here. Okay. I'm getting upset. The problem with government setting the threshold for labor is that poor people will not qualify for a job. There's no entry level. And as they raise that minimum wage, as they raise it up, they screw the poor guy. Oh, but wait, we have a cure for that. The government, in its magical mysticism, has come up with a solution for my problem. What we'll do is we will create low-interest loans for people to go to shitty schools to learn stuff that would never make money until they take 4 years, and then they go for the post-grad for 4 more years, and then we milk more tuition out of them. And I could teach you what you need to know about dentistry and trading in about a week. Anything that I've done, fixing a car. I'm sorry, you don't need to go to automotive school. You could just watch YouTube internet. You could actually buy a car, tear it apart, take a looky-poo inside, figure it all out. There's some kind of magic, and the mechanic shops are charging $100 an hour, and the mechanic's getting what? If he's lucky, $20 an hour, $25? Well, there's shop fees, and there's insurance because people have been sued because some idiot fuck sued the company, or the company just doesn't want to. They have to pay these employees whether there's cars in there or not to work on. You're paying. Why is it $100 an hour to get your car fixed? Did anybody ever ask themselves that? Why is the hotel room so expensive? You're paying for the rooms they don't rent. They're not always renting them out, people. Why does the price drop when they just want to, like, if they, once the rooms start to fill up, there's only a couple left, yeah, the price is high because they've filled the spread. Okay, they covered the spread. So this person asking me about economics immediately made me think like a trader looking into this guy's argument. So I'm going to treat this argument like a trader would. So I said, well, like imagine if the spread was too wide. You just wouldn't trade at that broker, right? But for the little guy, if the spread's too wide, he can't start his little trading business because you've raised the bar. Oh, you can't trade here unless you got a $5,000. Oh, yeah? Well, but so the threshold, right? Well, how in the hell? So here's what he's saying. Here's my point to this guy. And I hope somehow this is getting through to him. I mean, the fact that I'm pissed off, I guess I'm not going to be able to do this unpissed off. And he's going to not maybe get it. But I don't know how many ways I can make it clearer. So the little guy's nobody's going to hire somebody that doesn't know anything because they're not worth anything. But we'll send you to school, and we'll teach you skills that you can't use. But wait, the tuition's so high. Why is the tuition so high? Because it's subsidized by the government. And this is the whole crux, the whole fulcrum of my whole argument is right here. Now we're coming to the point. let's take a look at what the government is preventing from happening. They're taking the poor talented person who can't start a company because labor prices are too high. Hold that in context in your mind. Come back to that thought. And now that that's too high, and this is my question he did not answer, is it possible that... Okay, wait, no, I'm sorry. I screwed up here. I'm taking two objects in space. A picture a guy who is low on skills, but he's got a lot of energy. He's ready, willing, and able to work at a job. And he has no skills, right? But we will send you to school for that. But how about we, and this is going to be a real heartbreaker for all the school freaks that like to drink beer in school and just... School is nonsense. People aren't learning anything in there. Go to the library. You know, when I want to learn trading, I didn't go to a trading school. I went to the bookstore and I bought my own education. Whatever I needed to do. Anything. How to paint. I could take a crash course, right? I don't have to go to 10 years of school to paint and study all the classic artists and get that Gartley in my head. Like, that's another Gartley pattern, right? Well, you know what, are you, well, is that a... No, I'm just making stuff up out of the top of my head. It's called being original. Where did the customers come from? Why is Steve Jobs, well, now he's dead, it's a problem, but when Steve Jobs was alive, why were people buying his phone? Because it was unique. He wasn't competing with anybody. He was in a league of his own because he was creative, right? He stepped out in front. So these two objects, a picture of the poor guy who has, say he's got brute force, say he's like, oh, but he's willing to learn what he needs to learn, and maybe nobody will hire him because he couldn't afford to get a cheap school loan, and he is really down in his luck. Remember the guy in the corner who's still there that says, I'll work for food? Guess what? I would hire him to trade for me if I could do it legally and say, well, come aboard, son. Let me show you. Here's this button. What you do is when you see this, do that. And he could babysit a 1-minute chart and scalp it for me, right? But he can't now. Nobody's going to hire him for that. And you can tell him, listen, if you want, you can trade your own account. In fact, I'll give you some money. And you don't like it here? Go away. You know how to trade now. Go off, trade, create more liquidity in the market for me so when I go in the market, right? This should be the liberal view. Let everybody live. No, the liberals are communists. The liberals they're not for freedom. They're not for sharing. They're for force. They're for forcing. Let's force you to do it. Now, I'm half done. I'm half done with this guy. Let me explain it to him like this. Calm down now. So I answer him. Now you got two guys. You got the poor guy, and you also have another poor guy in this picture. You have the guy, and these are real people. I'm taking two groups of people. I'm taking a poor slob who has low IQ, and I'm taking a high IQ, creative person that has no help for his idea, his business, his creation, his Apple computers, what have you. It doesn't have to be Apple, but just think about Apple because it's the only way to connect with these poor liberals that you know, they're on these Apple phones, right? So maybe you can try to make it real for them, this argument. Now, you got the Apple guy, and he's like, well, the government's keeping these two people apart. So my question is to him, this is the question, and he will not answer this question because he can't. I said, what's the chance? Oh, but wait, we'll teach him skills. And so, and the poor talented person can't start a company because labor prices are too high. So Steve Jobs cannot say, well, let's get some other people on board that may be as creative as me, well, maybe we'll even collaborate. We'll get together, and I'll say, listen, you wanna buy shares in my company that really doesn't worth anything right now, and we'll just both like share a meal, and we'll build this thing up, and then we'll take off, and we're just gonna set the world on fire. And I think Dvorak and people that've got, who are these people are, right? They conspire together. Now he's going to get into that later when he answers me, and this is just in a nutshell. In this whole thing here, you can do what Ayn Rand calls philosophical detection, which I thought was the most amazing thing she ever said. I said, oh my God, that's right. It's like philosophical profiling. Look at this person's thought process. Look how their logic is zero. Or they just regurgitating the crap they were taught in the school, and they never really thought about what they're saying or thinking. And if you want to, if you can tell me the Earth's not round, then you're just being intellectually dishonest. There's no way. And then he's going to go on to human behavior. But so I said to him, is it possible that the government's keeping these two people from getting together, and this is the punchline? Maybe the willing can have a career instead of a job. Like the willing and able guy can have a career, and he can pick up and he can. Don't forget, the owner of the business is taking a huge risk just by hiring him and letting him in to see how businesses, seeing how you do get customers. Don't forget that. If he takes an apprentice under his wing and shows him all his chops, what's to stop that guy from moving 10 miles away, 10 minutes away, 1,000 miles away, starting up his own business? And now he can go on the internet and compete with him. He can steal all his licks. He can steal all his tricks. Who's at risk? This idea that I'm assuming this is from an entitlement age group thought process, the guy that typed this. He's an entitlement. Well, yeah, but there's not even enough money to live on. Nobody owes you a job in the first place, dude. Life's not fair, and life is not one huge hospital. It's a heartbreaker, isn't it? They've already done experiments with rats. You let them eat and party whenever they want. They get fat, they get cancer, they die. Why are people getting cancer? It's not because of chemtrails. Bloated, spoiled, rotten people. Spoiled. That's the spoil is the cancer. That's the rot. Why are people slobs? They don't have to perform. In fact, a lot of people steal from their companies. They're not paying me enough. You're not entitled to steal their pencils and all the stuff. Well, I just got it from work. I mean, the theft that goes on. Does anybody run a business? You know, the reason why Stefan Malniel takes his stance of like, fuck it all, he owned a business. And he had losers. He had to pay losers money at a minimum wage. He probably felt like crap. I never hired anybody because I can't afford it. Besides, I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to encourage the stupidity. I refuse to participate. It's called Atlas Shrugged. Sorry, I quit. You know, I just quit. I quit before I started. You know, it's basically like this. You know, if you don't play their game, you ain't gonna lose to them. I ain't gonna play the man's game, and the man is the government. It's not the guy that owns the company. The man is not the company. It's the government. What is wrong with these people? So, here's the punchline. Maybe this guy can have a career instead of a job. And the talented guy can grow a company that has disposable profits. And I kind of try to flip it around on here. And I was hoping at this point I could subliminally invade his brain by flipping the word disposable income to disposable profits. But I think he glossed over that because he's tunnel visioned and he can't wait to reparrot the crap he learned in school. Because he must not own a business, and he must not be a street person, and he must not understand logic and reason, because logic and reason is only available to people that have to survive with their mind, which has the logic and the reason, so they don't do dumb shit and blow shit up. And that's Darwin. That's Darwin, keeping you on your toes and making you learn in the real world. Okay? Fucking ridiculous, man. And who can take this? Who can read this stuff? I guess I'm a masochist reading this stuff. But I guess what I'm trying to do is all the time is like go, what? No, the Earth's round. Really, it really is. Come on, isn't it? Am I the only one that thinks the Earth's round and Building 7 fell down because it caught on fire, people? Like, what is going on out there? What's going on? And you wouldn't see this in the normal world. Back in the old days, you didn't know your neighbor was tying people up and torturing them. You know, not unless she was screaming loud. You didn't know what was going on down the street. Now, you go on the internet and you try to like, you know what? Let's see if we can mix it up a little bit. Oh my God. People are nuts stupid. Nuts stupid. And maybe they're dumb, but they made it to the computer. They typed this answer. So I said, well, maybe this talent, this company can grow. And then I was trying to throw him a bone here and say that I knew he was a flaming liberal right off the bat. So I thought that I could turn him over on this one point. After I said disposable profits, everything's calculated that I wrote. I'm not regurgitating anything. I'm thinking this up real. So I'm answering this guy out of my own mind. I'm constructing these thoughts. I'm not throwing in catchphrases like disposable income. What does that fucking mean? So I said disposable profits that government can tax. And I was going to say tax to hell. And I thought he would agree with me at that point. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, if they make more money, we could tax them more. And then we could spend more money. And then we get more welfare. And then we can help out those poor people. And then we can cripple them with welfare so they don't have to perform, and we cripple them more like we wiped out the black communities. Why are the black people poor? Well, because we gave them a helping hand. And we said, look, you can go to school, and we'll give you affirmative action. Your degree is handicapped. You're on the women's tees. Okay, so great. When you graduate, and they go, you graduated from Harvard, and you're a black guy? Well, are you one of the black guys that got that break? Because you ain't so smart? Oh, so you've already tainted the degree that you're trying to help them to get. Can anybody see a problem with this? The liberals love to not fuck with Mother Nature, but when it comes to economy Mother Nature, they're going to fuck that thing sideways and break their fucking dick off in it, right? Because they're so stupid. They can't take the thing like, well, don't touch the poor, the caribou. Well, what do you think? You think a business owner ain't his own caribou? Like, how is he any different? How is the natural phenomena of Apple computers starting organically? It wasn't. This is like Obama. This is probably an Obama fuckhead. You didn't build that. Fuck, you didn't build that. It's not your company. You better pay them. Nobody can live on the wages you're paying. This comes back to this fucking Charles Dickens shit. Fuck the ghost of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. Fuck that shit. We're fucking... You do what you do. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody's making you work at this company. And shut the fuck up, this goddamn neighbor. You know what? This bitch won't get out of her car. She's 500 pounds. So, what the fuck? God damn it, man. What's with this country? I'm glad I'm not going to live too much longer. I don't want to be here to see. You were zombies. You were just moron zombies. So I thought maybe I could win them over with this that, you know, you can tax the fuck out of these successful businessmen now. But no response there, okay? So then I said, well, that's great until they raise the taxes so high that they kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Now, this is a fable from way back when this goose was putting out golden eggs. So the guy that owned the goose said, well, I know what I'll do. I'll bust the fucking bird apart, and I'll get to the pot of gold that's spawning these golden eggs. They break open the turkey or the chicken, or what makes eggs, chickens, right? Goose eggs? No, geese eggs, right? And geese eggs are big, right? So they get in there and they're like, there's no gold in this puppy, in this goose. And now they've destroyed the goose and it can't make golden eggs anymore. And who is the goose? The business owner. Well, let's squeeze him. Let's keep raising the prices up. Okay? Now, this has fallen on deaf ears. This whole answer that I spent so much time on, that I'm ready to write a book. I'm ready to take my stuff and write a book that people can go, well, I'd just be preaching to the choir if you got it. And if you didn't agree with it, you'd be like, that book doesn't make any sense. So I guess I'm just doing this. Save myself a lot of typing, because I try to get one of those things where you talk into it and it types for you, and I spent like 30 minutes in a laughing loop seeing how it misinterpreted what I was saying and reading it back to myself. I laughed so hard, and then when I started to laugh, it started to type even weirder stuff, so I was caught in this loop of laughing into the microphone and having the computer say, oh, this is what you're saying now? So this voice interpretation stuff is completely ridiculous, right? It thinks that laughing is a word. This is the problem I have with robots, and I am going to build this damn robot. And it's free for everyone. Even I'm going to send it out to the welfare recipient. This is the intervention point that I'm getting to, is that I'm going to be that guy that flies under the radar, because I'll just send people my robot, and they'll say, here, trade it. And they're like, yeah, okay, let's trade it on a PAM account and make a bunch of money. Everybody can make money from it, right? Everybody can make money from the robot, and we don't have to worry about, well, are you abusing me? You don't like it? Pull your money out of the PAM account. This PAM account's going to be psychotic, right? So if my buddy, I'm going to do it myself if nobody wants to do it with me, but I would like to find a programmer that understands what I'm aiming at, because it's totally possible. I've studied I know the topic. So I did my homework. My dad always said, oh, you want to own your business? Do your homework. So I found out what it cost for the materials. I got a number. I found what it cost for the loan. Now, don't forget, I got a loan for my business when Jimmy Carter was in office, and interest rates were 18%. I paid 13% on my loan. Can you believe it? On a business loan. So I think I paid 15%. I have a co-signer. I had to have my dad, who's never had credit, unbelievable credit. He co-signs the loan with me. And what do? And my dad's so cute. He said, can't you buy that equipment locally? I go, no, we're buying German equipment, because you know what? We don't want to have crappy work. We want the good stuff. Besides, the government helped me subsidize the German equipment, because they let me write off the interest on my loan. So there's another thing here. High interest rates, if the government says I can write off, and if the internet existed 20 years ago, I can just see the assholes on the internet saying stuff like, well, the only reason the interest rate's 18% because those businessmen can write off that as a business expense. It's just not fair. They should be paying the same interest rates we do on our car loans. Really? Okay. This us against them stuff, you're an idiot. And you're going to be a loser the rest of your life. This guy that I'm answering right now, I'm going to guarantee you, unless somebody takes him under his wing and makes him his girlfriend, there's no way this guy is going to succeed on his own. He's going to be dependent on the state. That's why he's a fan of the state, because he knows he's going there. He subconsciously knows he's going there. Can't we all see that? He's got that in his backup plan. Well, if things get bad, I'll get an Obama phone, and I'll just get Obamacare, and I'll get Obama's clothes when he gets out of office. I'll get his used wardrobe. Maybe they'll break it down into slices. I can sell it on eBay. Moon rocks, right? Look at this. Now, Okay, so now here's his answer to me. This is why I had to do this video. I'm so sorry to if you've hung this long, and hopefully this guy whose name I can't pronounce is going to answer me. And this is why I stopped typing. The primary issue with all your arguments is that if you permit companies to set their own wages with no minimum wage. Now, wait a second. Can I just stop this guy in his tracks? The primary issue? Dude, don't get fancy words with me. Answer my questions. They won't. They want to show off that they've been to school. I get it. Dude, I could outword you, but I don't want to go there with people. I could be so intellectually mind-blowing. I know my vocabulary is insane, but I'm trying to connect with people. There's no sense, there's no need to use that unless you're in an app. The only reason for big words is to save time. And I don't want to have people think, well, what does that word mean? Because you could get pretty carried away, right? You could get pretty deep. And I don't want to get, I'm not trying to say, I'm trying to get to the basic concepts, the building blocks of life. I could say words like extrapolate, and if you take that to the, if you extrapolate that to the, the coefficient of the, there was a guy that did a thing, I saw a guy make a comment the other day that was just one, complex word into the next, never making a point. I'm trying to make a point here. So, his answer already tells me his intellect is, either he's intellectually dishonest because he can't answer the question, so he's going to throw garbage at me. The primary issue with all your arguments is that, okay, forget that phrase, that's stupid. He says, if you permit companies to set their own wages, well, why can't they? Companies, okay, I think this guy is a fan of fascism. He's a fascist. The true definition of fascism, and people get this wrong all the time because they just, the liberals throw that out at the businessman or the Republicans or something. Listen, fascism is business, is the government running a business. If the government's not running your business by setting minimum wages and telling you what you got to, how are they not running it? They're running your business. They're telling you what your threshold for creating your business is. So, here's another thing. Now, here's where I think the conspiratorial mindset's coming in on this guy. This guy is so programmed. I mean, you really look at this person. They're just totally intellectually vacant. There's no, they can't, how can't they see their argument, their statement is completely falls on its face. There's no proof. If you permit companies to set their own wages with no minimum, they'll collaborate. Basically, they'll collaborate to basically. Well, will they collaborate, or will they collaborate complexly or basically? I mean, this, you can see this guy's an idiot. He can't form a thought. They'll collaborate to basically create a de facto. I love this when people throw out fancy words. De facto. Minimum wage. Will they really? Does this make any sense to you? Now, I'm answering this. This is the last time I'm going to talk to this guy. I'm not typing back. I'm posting this video in this thing. Are you kidding me? They'll collaborate to basically create a de facto minimum wage? How do you know they could collaborate? Why would they collaborate? They're competing with each other, you fucking idiot! How fucking stupid are these people on the internet? How fucking dumb are you? And why do you think they're gonna collaborate? Well, they're gonna. Because they're out to get me. Dude, step away from the crack pipe. It's making you paranoid. You might say the free market will decide what unskilled labor is worth. Yes, he got it. He got it. He got it. Yes, you're right. Ding, 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 ding. Give that man a cigar. Yes. The free market. Of course. What is wrong with that? And the free market will decide what unskilled labor is worth. And guess what it'll also do? And he doesn't go this far. It will also determine what skilled labor is worth. And if you put your fucking shit together and get some skill sets, where do you get those skill sets? Maybe on the job training. Did you ever think of that? No, we can't. We gotta pay you minimum wage. Can't just have you showing up here to learn stuff and steal our chops. What the fuck is wrong with these people? But the reality is, here we go. Now, the reality is most people, it really is people, not some abstract. Now, here we go. This is where fuck this guy, right? This guy's so full of shit. But the reality is, like, he's going to tell me the reality. He's never owned a business. He doesn't know how the economy works. He doesn't know how human behavior is. Why do people go to Walmart? It's cheaper, right? He hasn't figured that out yet. Reality is, people, not abstract concepts like the economy. Well, the economy is made up of people, right? Individuals. People. Steve Jobs is not the economy. He's a person. The economy. Okay, so not some abstract concept like the economy decide. I think he means decides what skilled labor is worth. And history. And if history is an indicator, people don't think it's worth much. What is he talking about? If history is an indicator, what does that mean? What a loaded pile of shit he's throwing here. What part of history? And this is like, well, in the olden days when they used to have slaves, I think history is, the load on history is, well, you know, back when people weren't paid enough. And they worked in sweatshops. Oh boy. Really? They were forced to work in sweatshops. Dude, they were making money. It's better than no money. I know people think there's a entitlement. Well, you know, if you're alive, just because you're alive, and just because you're an idiot, and we owe you money. You're alive. Come on in. No, don't worry about doing too much. No, just sit down. We'll take care of you. We'll get you fat. We'll get you lazy. We'll get you cancer. Come on in. Okay? Like, why is the liberal not into natural law of the economy, but they're into natural law of the caribou? Very strange. It's almost like selective ethics, selective logic. And so he goes in this free market, will decide what unskilled labor is worth, but the reality is that people, not some abstract concept like the economy, decide what unskilled labor is worth. People. Well, the free market's made up of people. Last I checked. And that's what makes it free. Well, free people. Not fascism like he wants. The economy, he says, decides what unskilled labor is worth. And if history is an indicator, people don't think it's worth that much. Thus, you have a de facto, unlivable minimum wage. No, listen, buddy. What you have is the de facto minimum wage. That's true. Unlivable? Unlivable? If you've got internet connection, you are one of the richest people that's ever lived in the history of mankind. You have access to more data at a cheaper price than the history of thousands of times past the history of, and don't forget, they used to go in and destroy libraries to keep the people down on the farm and dumb. They did it to this guy. I mean, and here's where the emotion comes in. And you always got to have some emotion from one of these emotionally driven morons. I mean, the minimum wage isn't even something you can live on. And it's indubitably, I mean, I can't even pronounce these big words he's using. I'd indubitably, I don't even know if I can look it up. Lower a wage indubitably? And it's indubitably lower? Okay, he can't spell. I carefully made sure all my stuff was correct when I typed. So he didn't go to enough school. He went to a cheap school. Government school. And it's indubitably lower if wage regulations were relaxed. Oh! He doesn't even make sense here. The minimum wage, like, if you didn't have that, you'd have a de facto minimum wage, but then he's going back to the fact that even the de facto minimum wage is regulated. If they were going to relax the de facto minimum wage, the situation would be untenable for the poor. Okay. I hope that cures this socialist, do-gooder, communist, fascist, wants to kill the goose that lays the golden egg with his stupidity. And this guy that, Chris Shelton, who this whole thing started on, he broke my heart when I found out he was a socialist. And he left Scientology, and he's like, yeah, we need minimum wage laws, those poor people. Well, there used to be churches used to take the poor in till the government stepped in. And if you watch Stephen Molyneux, everybody knows he explains very logically and clearly and undeniably that the new daddy in town is the state. Mommy don't need a daddy. Mommy gets a tax deduction for every illegitimate baby she spits out. Mommy gets WIC cards and bridge cards and card cards. Mommy gets free diapers. Mommy gets to buy pop, sugar water with carbonation on her welfare card. And I was in a store recently, and there was 2 cops in the store, and I said, why all the cops? And I said this to a black guy working there. A white black guy. A logical, like me, right? Logical. And I only say that because most black people vote Democrat. That's why maybe the Democratic cities are like on fucking fire. Anybody put those two kind of things together? And so, yeah, embrace your corruptor, I think it's called. So, who's getting hurt? And so, mommy has the state as a daddy, and the boys don't have to step up to the plate. The boys aren't involved. So there's this meme out there, men go your own way, which I'm like, I can't keep up with the memes. I mean, I love intellectual debate with people, but this guy, come on, you're just torturing me. Give me something. Hit me. Come on, prove me wrong. Can't do it. Won't answer my questions. Comes up with regurgitated catchphrases, cliches, the shit he learned in school. Stupid. Can't take it. And and I like when he says lower the wage regulations. Yeah, I gotta regulate that. And Bill Whittle had that nonsense. Bill Whittle's kind of a liberal. I love Bill Whittle in some regards, but listen to him talk about, well, you gotta inspect them elevators. You gotta have inspectors. Really? Listen, I own a business where I did really dangerous stuff, and the fire marshal would come in and say, you gotta tie those tanks to the wall. And I was thinking, really? They're not going to fall over unless I knock them over. And he said, well, if you don't, I'm going to close your business down. And so I changed the wall. He never came back to check to see if I did. He threatened that he was going to come back and close me down. He never came back for 6 years. And the moment he walked out of the door, I could have unchained those tanks and I could have thrown them around the room. In fact, I could have taken some dynamite and strapped it to the tanks and blown them up. It's a false sense of security to think that regulation is doing anything but fucking our lives over and creating jobs. You know who creates jobs for? The fire marshal. And when my fire marshal came to my office one day and he said, oh, we're doing the work of OSHA now. Occupational Safety and Hazard. Does anybody really think that... And I hear about accidents all the time. How about the train wrecks? How about the guy getting his hand cut off in the factory? That's stupidity. That's Darwin at work, okay? I live in the real world. And I have to answer this guy. I'm only going on this insane rant because, well, it's a selfish effort on my part because I just want to rant, and one guy liked my rants, and I'm hoping that somebody out there is going to go, yeah, duh. Like, you know, when you preach to the choir, right? I like to hear music that I like. I will listen to music I don't like to learn something. And if this guy can come back with if he can type into this thing everything I've gone through, or come make a video, or how about, I don't think I can have a discussion with him because he might shut me down, but you know what, dude? If you got half a brain and you're all that in a bag of chips and sliced hard salami, come back with an answer and answer my video in the comment line. You make a video and you tell me, and you show me all the charts and you prove your point. And I'm going to tell you right now, human behavior, which is you're saying here, and if history's any lesson, socialism gives you Venezuela, right? Or what's this country that's coming unwrapped? Did they have, how about, I don't know if this guy's old enough to remember the gas lines. Do you remember Nixon, the socialist president? Does anybody remember Nixon, the socialist Republican president? Wage and price controls. Play with the gold market. You cannot direct the natural world. Why do you want to let caribou run free, but you won't let Bill Gates run free and hire who he needs to hire, when he needs to hire him, at the price he can afford? No, nobody owes you a wage. They're trying in Switzerland or Sweden right now. They're trying to just give money away to people. Let's see how that works out. Anyways, I'm feeling better now having answered this guy's question, because if I had to type one more character, I was going to have a problem. I was going to need Obamacare.